Hey everyone, it's Lindsay and I'm here today with the Let's Make a Card video. So let's go ahead and get started. On today's card, I am using a new digital stamp from Stamps for Joy. This is called Better Late Than Never. So this one started out in Photoshop Elements. All I did was open up a new project. I placed my digital stamp and then I just dropped it down into the left-hand corner and really brought it up to a very large size. I printed it off with my laser printer with crop marks and then trimmed it out with my paper trimmer. I also printed off the exact same panel onto a piece of computer paper. I printed that off with my laser printer as well, and then I trimmed out my image with fine detail scissors because I'll be using that as a mask. But right now I wanted to go ahead and get my image all colored in. I'm using my alcohol markers because I only had about 30 minutes to make a card, so this is the quickest way for me to get the image colored. So I wanted to make her hair brown, so I'm using about 4 different colors on that. And I just put some shadows near the top of her head and where her shoulders and neck are as well, and the rest of it I kept relatively simple. I went ahead and put down first a skin tone, but it was a little bit too light, so I came in with a darker tone and just went over the entire skin that is showing as well with that darker color. I also used a very light blue marker around the blacks of her eyes. You can't really see it right now because there's not a lot of shadow, but as I add more darker colors to her skin, that will really pop through. I added a little bit of shading with a darker tan color, and then I brought in my lighter shade and just blended that out as best I could. To add a little bit of rosiness to her cheeks, I used a very light pink, and then I just blended that out with my lighter tan color as well. I only used one dark red on her lips. It's almost a deep plum maroon color. I thought it was very pretty with the darker skin tone that I went with. And then I started with some really dark navies for the dress. I first put down a lighter blue and then I came in with a very, very dark navy and put some shadows in, and then I'll bring back in that light blue again and blend out the colors. This is very simple coloring that I'm doing here. Again, I only had 30 minutes to do this in, so this is nothing spectacular at all. I used a very dark olive for the leaves, and then I used a peach just to brighten it up for those flowers. I went ahead and brought back in that dark navy blue for the earrings and also the centers of the flowers, and that finishes off the coloring of this image. I wanted to do some stenciling around my colored image, so I need to mask her off. In order to do that, I'm using rubber cement. This is just your kids craft rubber cement that you get in the kids craft section. I'm using the brush it comes with, and I'm just putting on very quickly, you do want to work quickly, a very light layer of this over the back of my computer paper image that I trimmed out with my fine detail scissors. You do want to move quickly because this is going to dry pretty fast, so I immediately flip this over and place this right down on top of my colored image, and I just use my fingers to smooth this out. You want to give this just a second to dry, but like I said a few times now, it only takes a minute. For my stenciling, I'm bringing in this stripe stencil. This is from Stampin' Up. I have a different one linked on my blog, and it's already at a diagonal, so that's a benefit because I'm going to use this stripe stencil at a diagonal here on this card. I'll use just 2 pieces of painter's tape to quickly hold this down and in place. And then I'm using Memento London Fog Dye ink for my stenciling. I have a clean little sponge on my mini round ink blending tool, and in order to put this onto my paper, I want to hold my ink blending tool at an angle so it doesn't leave any harsh lines. I'm also dabbing off extra ink over on the right hand side on a scratched piece of paper, and that's just going to help me with those lines again. I want to start very light and work my way up and build up the intensity of the color. You're not going to start out with as intense color as you want. If you do that, you're going to end up with those really ugly lines on your blending. So I start on my mask and then I pull the ink off in whatever direction I want to go. In this case, I'm working within the lines of the stencils. I don't want to go against those lines because that will move the stencil away from where it's laying at, and that's going to put ink behind those little masks that the stencil creates. So once I was happy with my color, I removed that stencil and the painter's tape, And then I can go ahead and pull up that mask that I put down with rubber cement. This comes up very easily, and you'll see it did pull up a little bit of color that I didn't let dry all the way. If you let your image dry, that won't be a problem for you. Then if there is any excess left of the glue, I just rub that away with my fingers, and this card panel is ready to go on a card. For my sentiment, I just pulled a happy birthday sentiment from one of my stamp sets, inked it up with my Simon Says Stamp black dye ink, and I stamped that down on the right hand side of the card panel towards the bottom. I wanted my card to appear as a one layer card, but I didn't want the bleed through from my alcohol markers on the inside of the card itself. So I just attached some double-sided adhesive to the back of the colored panel. I'll rip off the backing paper and then flip this over straight onto an A2 top folding white card base, and this is going to allow me to give the appearance of the one layer card without the bleed through. I don't show it in the video either. I did have a little bit of overhang from my panels, so I just use my very long 8-inch Fiskars scissors and I just snip off whatever is overhanging, and that's just an easy way for me to make it appear as a one layer card. To add a bit of shine to this card, I brought in my moonshine sequins. I believe I used 5 in total. I'm using my Quick Sticks tool to help me out in placement, and I'm also using glossy accents to secure these down. This card would also be gorgeous if you added a layer of Wink Estella to her dress for extra shine, but I only had 30 minutes and I ran out of time at this point, so that finished off my card for today. I hope you all enjoyed this video, and I hope I have inspired you to make a card as well. As always, I will leave you with this close-up and just a few pictures. For more information and the supply list, you can head to my blog, craftingwhilecaffeinated.wordpress.com. The link is in the description box below, as well as that I in the top right hand corner. That will get you there too, as well as show you a few more videos that you might want to watch. Thank you guys so much for watching today, and happy crafting!